Have you ever felt that little nudge, or maybe even a big push to pick up skills way outside your main job description? Maybe you're a software engineer thinking about business strategy all of a sudden, or perhaps a civil engineer getting really into project finance details. It's pretty interesting how that happens, and it brings us right to the core idea for today's deep dive: the 360-degree engineer. So our mission today is to really dig into whether being this 360-degree engineer is, more about a specific mindset, or is it an actual lifestyle you live day to day? Or maybe it's a powerful mix of both. We'll see. And to help figure this out, we've looked at a bunch of different sources: industry takes, expert reviews, some useful frameworks, and honestly, some really great real-world examples. So hopefully you'll get a full picture that might even change how you think about your own career path. Okay, so when we use this term, 360-degree engineer, what are we actually talking about? What does that fundamentally mean?
Right. So at its core, a 360-degree engineer is, well, someone who's genuinely well-rounded. So they excel technically, of course, but also in all those non-technical areas. It's not just about being great at the core engineering stuff. It's also about mastering, communication, teamwork, leadership, and this is key, really understanding the bigger picture, the context of their projects.
Okay.
They have this knack for seeing things from all angles, acting as that sort of complete engineer. They blend the hard technical skills with those crucial soft skills seamlessly.
That makes a lot of sense. I can picture that type of person.
Yeah.
So building on that definition, what are the specific qualities or attributes we'd see?
Yeah, good question. There are generally four key things that really define this type of engineer. First up is broad technical competence. This just means they're skilled across different engineering areas or project stages. Think of a software engineer who's comfortable with front-end, back-end, and DevOps. Or maybe a civil engineer who doesn't just design, but also gets the on-site management and, the whole project delivery piece. That versatility lets them tackle problems more holistically. Second, and just as important, are strong soft skills.
Ah, yes. The people side.
Exactly. These engineers are really good communicators, collaborators, leaders. They can explain complex stuff clearly. They influence people, mentor others, build good working relationships, and they really get what clients or users need. Things like adaptability, empathy, cultural awareness, they're all part of this too.
Okay, technical breadth. Strong soft skills. What's third?
Third is business and project insight. This is about seeing the bigger picture, understanding things like project management, what stakeholders expect, the economic impact or user impact of their decisions.
So connecting the tech to the business?
Precisely. They often act as that bridge between the engineering team and other departments, making sure the technical work actually lines up with the bigger goals. And number four is continuous learning.
Always learning.
Always. A real commitment to getting better, both technically and professionally. Staying up to date with new tech, sure, but also working on interpersonal skills, maybe trying out new roles. A lot of educational programs and companies are pushing this continuous growth mentality now. And, it's not just a nice to have anymore.
Right.
Technical skill is table stakes, but it's often not enough on its own for today's really complex projects.
So basically an all-rounder, someone who gets the whole system, not just their one piece. Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Is this mostly internal, like a mindset? Or is it something you do, a visible lifestyle?
Good question. Let's tackle the mindset perspective first. This angle really focuses on the attitude, the approach an engineer takes towards their work and their own development. It's primarily about how they think and how they approach learning.
Okay, so a way of thinking, like a growth mindset applied to engineering breadth. What usually stops engineers from adopting this? Is there a common barrier?
That's a really good point. Often it's this perceived pressure to specialize super narrowly, or maybe a fear that broadening out means you become less expert in your core area. Dilution, maybe.
Yeah, I can see that.
But this mindset is exactly about being open to going beyond that core specialty. It's a habit of looking at problems from lots of different angles. Sometimes people call it 360-degree thinking. And it's driven by this internal desire to pick up diverse skills. There's this quote from an industry pro that nails it. Success in modern engineering is more about self-marketing versus tech skills. You won't get far if you don't know how to self-market, influence others, build relationships, and understand other people.
Yeah.
That really points to a conscious shift in thinking, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It sounds like it's about fundamentally reframing what it means to be an engineer. It's deep adaptability, taking initiative, constantly asking, okay, what else can I learn? How else can I add value? Instead of just sticking to the defined tasks.
Exactly. It's that internal conviction that engineers can be multidimensional, and maybe even should be. Take Ayo Sokale. She's a chartered engineer, but also a BBC presenter.
Right.
In one podcast, she talked about embracing the multidimensional aspect of people, using all your varied interests. It's a great example of how the mindset is about the attitude, choosing to think broadly, staying curious, pushing your own boundaries, even when it's uncomfortable.
Okay, that clarifies the mindset part really well, the thinking, the attitude. So then, how does the lifestyle perspective come into play in this deep dive?
Well, if you connect that mindset to the real world, the lifestyle perspective suggests being a 360-degree engineer shows up in your actual way of life, your work habits, the career choices you make, your daily actions.
Ah, so it's not just thinking it, it's living it.
Exactly. They actively take on diverse roles. They seek out different experiences over time. They make those internal beliefs visible through their actions.
So we're talking observable stuff now, career paths, actual projects. Got any examples?
Oh, definitely. You see it all the time with engineers who deliberately pursue side projects, maybe get certifications in areas just outside their main focus, or who jump onto cross-functional teams.
Right, things beyond the day job description.
Precisely. They sort of weave continuous learning right into their weekly routine. They might show up at business strategy meetings, volunteer with local tech groups, mentor newer engineers, or maybe take an online course in something like product management. It becomes a normal, integrated part of how they operate professionally, like a constant workout for broadening their skills and perspective.
That makes sense.
And thinking about Ayo Sokali again, her career is a fantastic illustration of the lifestyle. It's not just her engineering work. She actively balances TV presenting, public roles, coaching.
Yeah, that's quite a mix.
It really shows a schedule where her engineering core is constantly being expanded by these other pursuits, by juggling different domains. It looks like a very intentional shaping of a versatile career. And, we even found a job posting for a tech lead position. It described the perfect candidate as someone who was a 360-degree engineer at heart, who had grown into management.
Interesting phrasing, at heart.
Yeah. It implies this person, throughout their career, had naturally touched on all sorts of development aspects, back-end, front-end, ops, but also consistently thought about the customer experience. It paints a picture of a career built on this pattern of diverse engagement.
That really brings out the tangible aspect. It's not just a concept. You can actually track it in someone's career moves. So that leads me back to the question, is it one or the other, mindset or lifestyle? Or do they have to go together?
Yeah, and I think the consensus is increasingly that it's really both. The 360-degree engineer idea truly comes alive when the mindset and the lifestyle work together in tandem. The mindset is the engine, right? It provides this internal drive, the openness. But the lifestyle is the actual natty, the actions, the sustained effort over time that makes it real. To be truly holistic, you really need both. The belief that broader development matters and the consistent effort to actually go out and do it.
So the most impactful engineers, they're not just reacting to change, they're actively driving their own evolution.
You got it. They're shaping things by constantly pushing their own edges. Continuous personal growth becomes their main tool.
That feels like a really powerful idea. Can you give us some solid examples of how this combined approach is actually encouraged or how we see it happening?
Sure. Look at education. The University of Nebraska-Lincoln has something called the Complete Engineer Program. It's explicitly designed to develop students across technical, professional, and personal dimensions. It pushes them to choose to grow in non-technical areas. Communication, leadership, ethics, right alongside their engineering classes. It's not just courses. They try to build this whole culture of development, giving students the mindset and the opportunities, like workshops and projects, to live it out.
So building it in from the start, what about in industry?
Well, lots of companies now evaluate engineers on a much wider set of criteria. It's not just code output. It's teamwork, leadership signs, business thinking, mentorship.
Right, performance reviews are broader now.
Exactly. They're implicitly pushing engineers to think and act more holistically. Some places even use formal 360-degree evaluation systems, feedback from peers, managers, maybe even people they manage. There's a company in Japan, Color Crew, that apparently has this really open evaluation process. Every engineer's performance and growth gets looked at from multiple angles. That kind of system really nurtures both sides. The mindset being open to diverse feedback and the lifestyle being accountable for ongoing skill development.
Yeah, I can definitely see that connection. It matches how you often hear experienced pros talk about their careers, right? That curiosity mindset leads them to take on different kinds of projects, and then that becomes a habit over their whole career, a real feedback loop. Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, it seems pretty clear that the 360-degree engineer isn't just one thing. It's this really comprehensive ideal covering both how you think and how you actually operate.
Absolutely. It's definitely a mindset because it has to start with that belief in being versatile,
Yeah.
in always learning. And it's absolutely a lifestyle because it demands real, sustained action cultivating skills throughout your career, maybe even spilling into your personal life.
Mm.
It really comes from that synergy of attitude and practice.
Energy.
There's a nice analogy we came across. Think of the mindset as the compass guiding the engineer towards that holistic growth.
Yeah.
And the lifestyle is the actual journey they take to cover all those 360 degrees of development.
Mhm.
You really can't have one without the other if you want the full effect.
The compass and the journey. I like that.
Yeah.
So turning it back to you listening, what stands out to you from this deep dive? And maybe here's a final thought to chew on. How might actively cultivating both a 360-degree mindset and a 360-degree lifestyle do more than just make you better at your job? How might it genuinely expand your ability to thrive, not just survive, in a world that's changing so incredibly fast? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive today.